सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. Our glories to Jagat Guru Vishnu Prabhupada. Our glories to our revered speaker, His Grace, SALIKA Prabhu. And our glories to assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. And of course, our speaker for today needs no introduction. He's one of our own. He's our host. And we are very much grateful to have this association and have him speak today. Salika Prabhu, so we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayana Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatu Jayamudiraye Nasta Praisu Abhadrisu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Rudramasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishiki. Before reciting the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan. Unto Narayan, Narayan, Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. It is established in the SRIMAD Bhagavatam that by regular attendance in these classes on the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotees of the Lord, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And the loving service unto the Supreme Personality of God, which is praise with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 4, text number 13. Continuation of reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Discourse, Canto 3, Chapter 4. The status quo, and this particular chapter is called Vidura Approaches Maitreya Muni. So we read it in Sanskrit text. Pura maya proktam ajaya anabhye padme nisanaya mamad isage Jnanam param mahima vaba asam Yatsurayo Bhagavatam Vadanti Pura Maya Pruktam Ajaya Ana Abhe Padme Nisanaya Mamadi Isage Jnanam Param Mahima Vaba Asaham Yatsurayo Bhagavatam Vadanti Pura Maya Proktam Ajaya Ana Abhe Padme Nisanaya Mamadi Isarge Jnanam Param Mahima Vaba Asaham Yatsurayo Bhagavatam Vadanti. Word for word translation. Pura, in the days of yore, Maya, by me, Proktaham, was said, Ajaya, unto Brahma, Naabye, out of the navel, Padme, on the lotus, Nisanaya, unto the one, situated on, Mama, mine, Adisarge, in the beginning of creation, Jnanam, knowledge, Param, sublime, Mahima, my transcendental glories, Ava, Asam, that which clarifies, Yat, which, Suraya, the great learned sages, Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti, do say. Translation purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Bhai Charanaravinda A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Patita Pavan Jagat Guru Savior of the world Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Hudava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the sages described as Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The explanation of the Supreme Self as given to Brahma and already explained in the second canto of this great literature is further clarified herein. The Lord said that the concise form of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, as explained to Brahma, was meant to elucidate his personality. The impersonal explanation of those 4 verses in the second canto is nullified herewith. Sridhara Swami also explains in this connection that the same concise form of the Bhagavatam concerned the pastimes of Lord Krishna and was never meant for impersonal indulgence. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnanam Jnanam Shalakaya Shakshu Umilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamahayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavanschaha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Raghunatam Vitam Tam Saajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vichaka Vitamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kakanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Nari Priye Munkam Karoti Bachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yakripat Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Vanchakarpatarubyascha Kripa Sundubhyas Ivaschaha Patitanam Pavashnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srinivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Pura Maya Proktam Ajaya Nabiye Padme Nisanaya Mamadi Sage Yanam Paramam Mahima Vavasam Yat Surayo Bhagavatam Vadanti. O Hudava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages described as SRIMAD. Hare Krishna. So welcome the devotees of the Lord to this auspicious moment where we discuss the transcendental subject of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. It is interesting because it is said that there is only one thing that exists. Every other thing that is in existence is a reflection, manifestation, or display of that one same reality. And the devotees are fortunate that on a daily basis, we had the opportunity to meditate on this one supreme truth. Today, we're discussing the Lord is speaking, the Supreme Personality of God is talking here. He's speaking to Uddhava. And when we talk about God, or the Supreme Personality of God, Srila Prabhupada has made us to realize before the advent of Krishna consciousness, before the gift of this sublime process of Krishna consciousness, we never understand the difference between God and the Supreme Personality of God. But by the mercy of the Parampara and Acharyas, which is very interesting point that is bordering on the topic we're discussing today, we are able to understand the transcendental knowledge. And that transcendental knowledge is that knowledge that reveals the Supreme Being as He is. So in the verse that we're discussing today, the Supreme Lord is giving us three basic realizations for those who are able to capture. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is talking about the origin of knowledge. The word Veda means knowledge. And in modern times, knowledge has been defined in so many ways. In the beginning days, or in the early days of our lives, 5, 6, 7 centuries back, when you talk about knowledge, the conception, the understanding, the perception of what knowledge is completely different from what is known today. And this is the nature of the material world. There is no consistency, there's no, because the nature of the material world is that it's always changing. And that is why the absolute is confusing to those who are not fortunate to be on the part of the process of Vedic knowledge. There are so many forms of knowledge in today's world as being defined. But according to the Bhagavatam, according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, knowledge is simply one. And it has only one origin. And that knowledge is what? Transcendental knowledge. And it is coming from one personality, that transcendental personality, Krishna. And the goal of that knowledge is only one, to develop that lost, eternal, original, constitutional relationship between the Supreme and His part and parcel. So this text we're reading today is establishing the fact of the three most important things in the course of education. When we talk about education, when we talk about knowledge, there must be the meaning of what, for anyone to conceptualize, for one to be able to understand the true meaning before anything, he must know the meaning of that thing. And when we talk about knowledge, here, what knowledge is established. the source of that knowledge is also established. And the means, the path, the method, the most accepted part of accepting that knowledge also is established in this fact, in this verse already. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is talking to Uddhava and is explaining that, my dear Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, what is that time that Krishna is talking about? What is the time of the days of yore, or the lotus millennium? According to the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, because in this part of knowledge, Prabhupada is so magnanimous. He has given everything. In the same third canto of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM that we're reading, in the 11th chapter, text number 36, Prabhupada revealed to us the time that Krishna is depicting in this conversation. That lotus, the lotus millennium that Krishna is talking about here, the beginning of knowledge, is revealed in that in the 11th chapter of this canto, third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In text number 36, and Srila Prabhupada explained that the millennium that which followed the first Brahma millennium is known as Padma Kalpa, because in that millennium, the universal lotus flower grew out of the navel reservoir of water of the personality of God at Ari. And the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada, he revealed to us what Krishna is referring to here. The lotus millennium. The lotus millennium is referring to that age that manifests after the sprout of the lotus flower from the navel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that millennium reveals to us the beginning of all forms of knowledge. In this very same canto, Prabhupada started the purport by elucidating. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that the explanation of the Supreme Self as given by to Lord Brahma, Prabhupada is referencing what Krishna is saying. In the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada has a very unique way of paraphrasing the scriptures. So in the second canto, 5th chapter, Prabhupada is referencing that chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam there. Something unique happened there. In the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the chapter 5 of that canto. And Srila Prabhupada is giving to us, Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of what Krishna is revealing to Uddhava here. The title of that chapter, excuse me, of the second canto is the cause of all causes. Here in this verse, Lord Krishna is talking about the knowledge that he gave in the beginning of all beginning. And in a conversation between Narad Muni and his father, Lord Brahma, Narada Muni, he asked 8 specific questions in the beginning of that chapter, chapter 5 of the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He asked 8 specific questions to Lord Brahma. He told Lord Brahma, he said, my dear Lord Brahma, from the first canto, for the first verse to the 5th verse of that chapter, Lord Brahma, Narad Muni, he asked 8 specific questions to his father, Lord Brahma, about the subject that Krishna is revealing to Uddhava here. The first question he asked is that, my dear father, please describe the symptoms of this manifested world. He's asking Lord Brahma, please I want to know the whole of this world. Then he went further and he said, what is the background of this old manifestation that we are in within? How is it created? How is it conserved? In other words, how is this world maintained? And under whose control is all this thing done? He has asked 5 questions so far. He said, my dear father, please, I want to know factually, in fact, what is the symptoms of this manifested world? What is the symptoms? I want to know what is the symptoms. How do I identify this material universe? What is the background of it? How is it created? How is it conserved? How is it maintained? How is it that everything is simultaneously happening as it is being planned? And he further asked a question, and under whose control is all this being done? Who is controlling all of this gigantic manifestation going on? Some few days ago, there was a very odd argument on Twitter. And people were, especially yesterday, there was a lot of speculative argument going on Twitter on the election to happen in the United States. And I was looking at this trending conversation, and I was saying how the living entities are so foolish in their conditional state of life. Everyone is thinking that something can happen without a designer, but the experience that we have, what we see, what we experience on a daily basis is that nothing happens by chance. But man in modern times, in the 21st century, thinks that by his manipulation, by his intelligence, by his gymnastics, by his speculative endeavor, he can make certain things happen. So in that conversation, because I found myself in there, so I quoted a quote from one famous philosopher, Krishnamurti, who's an intelligent person. Krishnamurti says that the ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. And that is a very unique one. So I just dropped in that. And after saying that, so many people were asking, how do we just observe without evaluating? Because they do not understand, they do not have the intelligence enough to understand the question that Narad Muni is asking his father Brahma here in the second canto of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So Narad is asking the father, my dear father, I want to know what is the background? How is it created? How is it conserved? Under whose control is all this being done? He didn't stop there. He went further in his question, the 6th question. He said, my dear father Brahma, what is the source of your knowledge? Because when you speak to me, just like everybody was speculating, and then they were all saying things based on what? The conditional, defective mentality of all living entities. So Narad Muni is teaching us a unique lesson in that is question. It is said that if one wants to know the truth, if one wants to realize the truth, if one wants to really see the truth, the first step is to ask the right kind of question. Because when you ask the right kind of a question, that right kind of a question reveals the truth in its absolute sense. Foolish questions gives an answer of foolishness. So Narad Modi is asking a very intelligent question to his father. And he's saying, please, father, I don't just want you to speak to me just because you are speaking. I want to know, where did the source of your knowledge come? That is intelligence. When a man is speaking, in recent, some few days back, I went to a conference and I was discussing. And when I said something, one gentleman there is an intelligent Muslim cleric. He is the head of the all of the NASFAT in Nigeria. And he was there as a religious leader. And he asked, he said, sir, you've spoken very wonderfully. Everybody is clapping, but I'm not just satisfied with just everybody clapping. I've heard what you said, but please share with me, what is the source of this information that you have shared with us? And I said to him, I said, you are the most intelligent person in this gathering. Why? Because you understand that knowledge is not important as the source of the knowledge. Whatever knowledge that one is sharing, that one is defending, that one is professing, that one is stating before anywhere, one must know the source of that knowledge. If that knowledge of source of that knowledge is not known, then it is foolishness. In 21st century, in our beginning days, when we started education, there was no Google, there was no many search engine as we know in this technological age. So when we want to understand certain things, the first steps we take is that we ask our sister or our elder brother, that brother, uncle, sister, what is this thing? What does this mean? And if our sister cannot understand, we go to our father. But if our father is ultimately, if nobody is able to answer, we go to our mother, and the mother reveals to us. And this is the most authentic way of knowledge acquisition, as stated by the very scripture. We'll come to that point. But here, Narada Modi is asking the right kind of question. And because he's asking the right kind of question, he's going to be getting the right kind of answer. When he asked Lord Brahma those preceding 5 questions, the number 6 question he asked is, my dear father, what is the source of your knowledge? And he asked, another interesting question. He said, under whose protection are you standing? Are you the supreme protector? Because it's an interesting thing. In today's world, knowledge is classified as very sacred. But the reality is that in the material world, everything is covered with duality. So there is no consistency. But that which is everlasting must have some kinds of protection of it. Everything that stands tall over a period of time, over situations of environment, over any circumstantial situation, must have some source of protection of it. So Narad Muni is asking the Brahma, he said, my dear father, under whose protection are you standing? Are you protecting yourself? Is somebody protecting you? Are you the source of everything? He asked the next question. And under whom are you working? He said, under whom are you working? Then he asked, what is your real position? What position do you hold? In the course of whatever you are sharing with me, where do you stand? And he asked, the last question he asked, which makes it, actually the total number of questions he asked is 11 from the preceding question. Then the last question he asked, before Lord Brahma started answering him, from text number 9 of the second canto, chapter 5, in the verse number 11. The last question he asked before that Lord Brahma started answering is that, my dear father, do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? Is all of this your creation? Please tell me, I want to know. Look, Brahma, who is the most authoritative teacher, because he's receiving knowledge from the most authoritative person, he answered intelligently. He said, my dear son, Narad Muni, whatever you have said, in the course of whatever you have said so far, is true. He said, why is it true? He said, because the Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as part of his body. That is in the text number 15 of that chapter 5 of the second canto. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are performed just to please the same Supreme Personality of God. This is the conclusion of all knowledge. And that is confirmed by Lord Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita, that of all the Vedas, I'm the source of all Vedas, I'm the creator of the Vedas, I'm the compiler of the Vedas. Of all the Vedas, I'm to be known. And so Lord Brahma, who is the most perfect student of the most perfect personality, the Supreme Personality of God, is explaining to Narad Muni. He said, my dear Narad Muni, my dear son, this is the essence of knowledge. This is the goal of knowledge. And that is what Krishna is saying in the verse that we are reading today to Uddhava. He said, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that flows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories. He did not teach anything. That is the knowledge. Knowledge means what? The transcendental subject about the Supreme Personality of God. Anything outside of that is illusion. But the living entities cannot understand this. Why can they not understand this? According to the Vedic process of knowledge, there are four methods of acquiring knowledge. According to the Vedic scripture, the first process of understanding knowledge is pratyaksha. Pratyaksha refers to a direct understanding of knowledge. What is this direct understanding of knowledge? This direct understanding of knowledge means that by the available means, which is the process of the scientists want to, material scientists, they want to understand everything based on what they can see, what they can perform by experience. But what is the good of such a knowledge? The very scripture reveals to us, as long as one is a conditioned soul, he is fraught with 4 defects. He must make mistakes. To err is man. He must be illusioned. He is always illusioned at every time. He sees a rope in the night and he calls it a snake. The tendency to cheat is very natural with all the conditioned soul in the material world. And he has an imperfect senses. So that process of knowledge, pratyaksha, direct understanding, is already defeated before it even starts. That method of acquisition of knowledge is condemned. Pratyaksha process, understanding by direct understanding, by using the condition. How can the condition not intelligent understand on transcendental subject matter? It's not possible. And the second method of understanding, according to Vedic philosophy, is anumana. Anumana is hypothetical understanding. Hypothetical understanding means that by the definition of science, when you put 2 to 3 together, but the reality is that the person behind this scientific process is conditioned as already explained. So that process of knowledge also is faulted by the Vedic sages of yore. And the third process of method of understanding knowledge is called historical understanding, or idea. That is very sound. We all learn through this process. But that is also not considered to be perfect, although it's higher than the previous two. Because knowledge transmitted from one person to the other person, if it is not broken, it comes down from the historical original source to the end. Naturally, it becomes wonderful. So that knowledge of historical understanding is powerful. It's better than pratyakya and anumana. But it is not considered to be perfect. Why? Lord Krishna tells us why in the Bhagavad Gita. In the chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 2, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, he said, Evam param param praptam imam rajasa yovi usa kalena mahanta yogu nasta parantapa. This knowledge that is received from disciplic succession and descending kings understood in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. That is the fault of historical knowledge. Thank you very much. Because the tendency of the nature of material world is that it goes through 6 stages. It comes into being. It starts producing, it starts growing. It stays for some time. It produces byproducts. It starts dwindling, and it perishes. So everything that comes into the material environment goes through these stages. So Krishna is saying here, because even that transcendental subject matter, when it comes from me to Brahma, because of the nature of the environment that Brahma exists, conditional world, the knowledge of historical process of understanding also becomes faulty because it becomes lost. When we do seminars, I often do that exercise. In the days of the COVID-19, I led a training section, misinformation, misunderstanding, and miscommunication of information. And we see that also in our process of in our movement. There is a conversation going on in our movement today. In most of our Western countries, Ratha Yatra is celebrated. It falls around the time within June, July. I mean, within the month of June, most of the time, according to historical Vedic references. But Ratha Yatra was started in the West, according to place, time, and circumstances. Prabhupada gave it to us. And in modern times, we see, even in our Krishna consciousness movement, in some temples across the world, Ratha Yatra, Cart Festival of Lord Jagannath, is celebrated in November, sometimes in February, or sometimes in October, sometimes even celebrated in December. And the king of Orisha, who is a custodian of the historical knowledge of the festival given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is saying that, no, this will not be done. And it has become a big topic. When we join devotional service, when we want to start Ratha Yatra, when we carry the coconut and offer to Jagannath, that coconut is broken in front of Jagannath. And naturally, what do? We all scramble to pick that. Until recent years, few years back, nobody knew that that coconut is not supposed to be taken. It's not supposed to be consumed. When we do yagya, fire sacrifice, we all experience this. So sometimes it is not magical. It is natural that the nature of material world, when knowledge is given, as it passes down from one person, because it is passing a perfect knowledge going through imperfect living beings or imperfect vessels, just like the rainwater is pure. But the moment it touches the earth, it becomes muddy water. Water in its natural constituents is very pure. But water naturally reflects whatever chemicals that it mixes with. When water is mixed with some chemical cola, it is called Coca-Cola, Pepsi. When it is mixed with some orange flavor or orange juice, it is called Fanta. Same water, when it is put into some other, it is called different names. Sometimes we even call it soup. We're drinking pepper soup. It is water, but it has been it is being reflected based on the ingredient that is entering. So that some form of knowledge, historical knowledge, it is considered to be what? It is considered to be imperfect. What is the perfect process of knowledge? According to various scriptures, that knowledge which is faultless, which is pure, transcendental knowledge, which Lord Krishna is referring to here, to Uddhava, is called Sabda. And Lord Krishna, he said, I, Krishna, give this sound to Brahma. And that sound is what is called the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. It is composed of 4 sentences. And that 4th sentence has become the 18,000 verses that we read in today. Because the acharyas have elaborated and explained the same 4 verses. And because it is so transmitted, those who are foolish, those who are ignorant, those who are covered by the illusory energy of Krishna, they're so covered and they consider it, they express it in the form of impersonal realization. And so Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that this knowledge, it is not, this knowledge is the knowledge of the personal knowledge. It is not meant for impersonal indulgence. To avoid this pitfall of impersonal indulgence, the very scriptures gives us the perfect process of acquisition of knowledge. Because not every one of us is going to have the opportunity to hear directly from Lord Krishna like Lord Brahma did. And not every one of us will have a direct connection to Lord Brahma, who is the original recipient, to receive that same knowledge. So therefore, Lord Krishna, he gave us the path by which we can. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Lila chapter 6, 147, he said, understanding Vasudeva is the real knowledge, but this knowledge can be only acquired through perfect knowledge of understanding, which is Sabda. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that vidhi panipati na paripasneya seva upadikshyanti tekyana yaninam tattva dasina. This knowledge can be received from the acharyas, from the parampara, from the disciples of section. This Vedic knowledge only can be realized, and for one to be able to get that kind of a knowledge, there are prerequisite requirements. Lord Krishna said, gave the impetus in the Bhagavad Gita 10:10 to 11. He told Arjuna in the Chatusloki, the last 2 verses of the Chatusloki, Tesham saktakta yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami bhuti yogam tam jenamamu payantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. I give them the understanding. How does it come? One cannot approach a bona fide spiritual master by just speculatively searching. It is not possible. One can only get knowledge of transcendental knowledge by the mercy of the spiritual master. But that spiritual master is only can be given by Krishna. It's not other ways. No other way. And that's what Krishna says, that for one to be able to get association of a pure bhakta, a pure devotee, who is a recipient of knowledge directly from Krishna, coming from disciples of section, one must constantly devote himself to worship of the Supreme Lord. And if he does that, Krishna said, I will give him the understanding by which he can come to me. How is he going to do that? And that's what Krishna said in the next verse. Teshamevanu tampa ankam aham agyanam gentleman. Nasayami atma bhavastu gyana deepena baswata. Out of compassion for them, I that am dwelling in their heart, I would destroy with the knowledge. I will destroy with knowledge the darkness that is born out of their heart. When that ignorance is destroyed, what will happen? The bona fide manifestation of the spiritual master will manifest to the devotee. Who is what? Who is already fulfilled the first condition, always desiring to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna says that because the living condition is covered, I will give knowledge that will clear away that darkness of ignorance. And in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada gave a very beautiful explanation. And Krishna says, how does that happen? How do we measure the level? Because sometimes we are in devotional service and somebody is thinking, okay, I'm in devotional service already. I'm desiring to worship the Lord. Why is Krishna is not giving me the knowledge as he's giving to Sadi? And Krishna said, answer that. All of them, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Accordingly to their degree of how they worship me, I will give them. If you worship Krishna 100%, he will send a 100% pure devotee to you. It is not surprising, even within his conscience. Sometimes somebody asks, why is it that I came to Krishna consciousness, but I met a person who is in Krishna consciousness? Yes, he's a devotee, but he's not a devotee of high caliber. He is also fall down. Oh, he's also cheating. He is also engaged in illicit sex. So why do I? Krishna is saying, according to the degree of your surrender is what he gives you. Although your devotion, your worship, or your desire for Krishna has brought you to Krishna consciousness, but to the degree, it does not mean that when you come to Krishna consciousness, you automatically get the Mahabhagavad as a pure devotee, as a guru, as a spiritual master. It's not possible. That quality of devotee that you have is what will give you the quality of devotee that will become your guru. That's what kind of guru you will get, even in the part of spiritual life. So it is not confusing. There's no doubt about it. And then Krishna says, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 20th chapter, verse 123, there's a very beautiful verse. And it is said that the forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literature. The realized spiritual master and the super soul. Through this, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. And he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditional life and can come to understanding how to attain liberation. That is how it happens. That is the process. Chaitanya Charitamrita, 20th chapter, verse 123. It's given there. The chronological process of how one becomes freed from the illusion of conditional life. And in the verse I have quoted before, Bhagavad Gita 4:35, most often times we read Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 34. Just try to learn the truth by approaching the spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. He says, realize you can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. But Krishna didn't stop that statement there. That statement is not complete there. Krishna said, go further in the text number 35. This verse is not most commonly read. Krishna says that was, and when you have just learned the truth, what is going to happen to you? Krishna is revealing. You will know that all living beings are but part of me, and that they are in me, and I am me, and they are mine. In text number 35. And this truth is universal. It is not limited knowledge. Krishna is giving it. Thank you very much. Krishna is not saying, having obtained real knowledge from his self-realized soul, because when Krishna is the one who is going to give you knowledge, that will meet his pure soul. And when you meet that pure devotee, what will happen? He said, you will never fall again into such delusion. For this, by this knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. You will see reality. That same knowledge that Krishna gave to Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he knows me, You will see that knowledge in clear form of it. And this knowledge is universal. In the Bible, in the Quran, in all the revealed scriptures of the world. There's a beautiful verse that is quoted in the Bible, in the book of John 16:27, it is said, "For the Father himself loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I am come from the Father." That is Jesus Christ is talking about the relationship between the disciple and the guru. He said, why Krishna, why you become a qualified recipient of the mercy of Krishna is because of what? Because you love your spiritual master. You're obedient to your spiritual master. You are dedicated to your spiritual master. You're following the instructions of your spiritual master, because no one can be obedient to someone unless he has a devotion for some person. Or sometimes people think that forcefulness brings about submission. No. It happens sometimes for those who are cowards, for those who are foolish, for those who are fearful. They bow down to threats. For those who are fearless, they don't. But in every circumstances, real submission comes from love. When you love somebody, you give everything to him. Because the gopis of Krishna, they love Krishna so much, they gave all of themselves to Krishna. And because they so love Krishna so much, Krishna also loved them unimaginably. Krishna said, "I become your property. Do that to me as you wish." That is the Supreme Personality of God. So this is not synonymous to that alone. In the same Bible, Jesus Christ is saying for that. It's so beautiful how you see this truth is manifested everywhere. Jesus Christ is saying in the book of John 14:21, he said that whoever has my command and obeys them, he is the one who loves me. So that is what the spiritual master says. When he was living, he said, if you love me so much, show to me how you love me by following my instruction. What is my instruction? That you should cooperate, as said by my guru. My guru told me that if you love me so much, the Prabhupada has said, Krishna has said, and this is how it comes from disciplic succession. Krishna said, if you love me, then worship me. Prabhupada is saying, if you love me, worship Krishna. And Bhakti Maharaj, when he was living in 2005, he said, if you love me, follow the instructions I've given to you. What is that instruction? Obey Srila Prabhupada. And Jesus Christ is saying the same thing here. Whoever has my command and obeys them, he is the one who loves me. He who loves me will be loved by my Father. And I too will love him and show myself to him. So what is more powerful than this? This is what Jesus Christ is saying. He said that if you love me, this is how you will receive the love of my Father. And because me and my Father loves you, because the Guru and Krishna loves you, Krishna and Guru, they will give themselves to you. In that same book of John, another beautiful statement, Jesus Christ says so many things in that book. He said that all my honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. If you love, thank you very much, Sadi, for bringing it up. I'm reading I'm presently reading same John 5:23, and he said that that all may honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. So if you are not obeying the spiritual master, if you have not submitted yourself to the spiritual master, then how can you say you are loving Krishna? It is not possible. It's hypocrisy. And this is knowledge. This is transcendental knowledge. Thank you. That is what he said. This version says that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He has honored not the Son, honored, and not the Father, which hath sent him. We have read from our divine scriptures that a bona fide spiritual master is the transparent medium through whom one can realize God or Krishna. He is Krishna's representative and is so completely surrendered unto God. Thus, is able to transmit the message of Krishna purely and without personal motivation. He carries himself always as a most humble servant of the Lord, and man can never accept any credit for himself. In the Katha Upanishad, it he said, in order to learn the transcendental science, one must approach the spiritual master in disciplic succession, fixed in the absolute truth. That is the Katha Upanishad statement. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 1867, he said, the confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of. Who is envious of Krishna? Who is envious of the spiritual master, or the devotee? Who is envious of the devotee of the devotee of Lord Krishna? They can never get this transcendental knowledge. This thing, the transcendental knowledge is not available to them. And who is this Acharya that he's talking about? In the Vayu Purana, it is mentioned that an Acharya is one who is fully understands the conclusion of the revealed scriptures. That is what Lord Brahma is stating here to Narad Muni in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam we referenced before. And whose behavior reflects his deep realization. He is a living example, for it teaches the meaning of the scriptures, both by word and by deed. In other words, it's not about do what I say, don't do what I do. If you think that what I'm saying is not favorable to you, then go to. Don't think about what I'm doing. Just think about what I'm saying. We've seen sometimes in the recent times, some of our powerful senior preachers, they speak like this. The scripture says, no, this is not a guru. That kind of a guru that we're talking, he is confidentially revealing because it's a via media of the spirit personality of God. That is the conclusion of knowledge. It is the most powerful process of knowledge. And when one gets knowledge from this place, he will see the Lord in the heart. The Lord will manifest to him. Because Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, he said, I'm already seated in the heart of every living entity. And from me, it is coming knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Everything is coming from me. So the moment you connect in this way, already I will become manifested to you. It is not difficult. And he didn't say that alone in the Bhagavad Gita. Even in the Bible. In the first book of Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 19. It's a beautiful statement. It says, do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? It is coinciding with the same verse of the SRIMAD Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, 1861. Krishna says, I'm seated in the region of the heart, and the same verse in the Bible is saying the same thing. So the truth is universal. Whether one connects or it doesn't connect, that is its own fault. And there's so many references. We can go on and on and on and on and on. But the reality is that because of time, we'll summarize like this. The essence of what we're saying is that real knowledge comprises of three components. That knowledge means the transcendental knowledge of the supreme personality of God, transcendental subject matter. That's what Krishna is telling Uddhava in this text. And the process of that knowledge is through sabda, hearing from the supreme personality of God through the bona fide representative of God. That is the real knowledge. That is the process of getting knowledge. And the culmination of that knowledge is when one is able to exhibit that by surrendering himself to the supreme personality of God in such a powerful manner. So, for want of time, we would like to summarize and stop here so that we can accommodate questions. But we should understand, Krishna is telling Uddhava in the text we're reading that, my dear Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about what? About my transcendental glories, which the sages describe as Bhagavatam. So these sages, as we have explained so far, are speaking the same thing Krishna is speaking. They elaborate it. Although Krishna spoke, that's 4 verses to Brahma. But the Lord Brahma and in the disciple succession have expanded it. We have 18,000 verses. And in other universes or planet, we have even greater numbers of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the medication for all saintly persons, for all those who have intelligence. One who is intelligent should constantly hear, recite, meditate on this Srimad Bhagavatam. And if he does that, you will get the reward that Krishna is telling to Uddhava here. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for giving the time to speak. If there are questions, comments, contributions, that is welcome. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. It's great, Salika Prabhu, for such wonderful and powerful Krishna Katha. Dear devotees, if anyone will have questions, comments, realizations, you may want to ask question, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or to speak.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You may go ahead, Prabhuji.
The coconut we offer during the Rath Yatra, the coconut we offer to Jagannath is not supposed to be consumed. And even in the fire yagna, the offerings, the fruits. So in this way, what do we supposed to do with them, Prabhuji?
Thank you very much for the question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. When we offer, you know, I'll answer this question like this. In modern times, people who claim to be worshippers of Kali, they take advantage of killing, and they eat all kinds of, even though most people, of course, in Kali Yuga does not do any offerings. It is there also in the Western theology. When we do the offerings, it is offered to the devas and ultimately to Krishna. So some of these offerings are meant to be offered back to the earth. There are prescriptions, there are guidelines for disposing remnant of offerings for different yagyas, for different I'm not a Purohit, and I'm not going to claim to be one. But in our recent readings, it is revealed that those offerings are supposed to be offered into a flowing river. And that's why it is very dangerous in Kali Yuga to want to do yagya, because one, there are no qualified brahmanas to recite the proper mantra. There are no proper process of observing the rituals. So from what the senior authorities have said, those offerings of coconut are meant to be offered. In some cases, they said it could be buried or offered into a flowing river as an offer back to the element, as an offering. But in our beginning days, we did not understand. We see it as the offering, because we have offered to the Lord. It's the remnant of the Lord's mercy, and we consume it. But Krishna is so magnanimous. Krishna is so compassionate to the conditioned soul. So he realizes our situation, and that is what he promises, that in the beginning days of in the beginning of devotional service, and I will share something with you, because you asked a very interesting question. In the beginning there are 4 stages in growth in spiritual life. The first stage in spiritual life, on the part of spiritual life, and it happens even in material endeavor, is a stage of helpless defeat. Helpless defeat means that although you are trying to do something, because that thing that you're trying to do is not backed with knowledge. And that is why Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita verse I quoted, 10:11, that he will give knowledge to to remove the darkness, because the conditioned soul in that stage of existence is engaging in ignorance. He is always defeated and is wondering, why is it that I'm doing this? They said I should do it. I'm doing it, but I'm not getting the result. He's constantly being defeated. A pure devotee will chant the Nam just once, and he will see Krishna. But I'm chanting, and it's not like I'm pretending. I know that I'm chanting. Why it's not manifesting? Because there's still level of coverings. It's a result of ignorance. So the first stage in spiritual growth is helpless defeat. Although we're trying to, but helplessly we fall back due to the coverings or ignorance. And many practitioners, irrespective of their tradition, they lose the path of spirituality just at this very first stage. The second, practitioners who are able to overcome this helpless defeat, where they have no ability to defend anything. When illicit sense come, they cannot control their senses. They just go ahead for it. When they hear the instructions of the spiritual master, they cannot follow. They like the process, but they cannot. They just helplessly are defeated. But when one is able to withstand that and grows a little bit above that, it comes to a state that is called struggle and defeat stage. At that stage, he will struggle, say, oh, they said I should not eat on a Kadasi day grains, so I'm not going to eat grains today. And he's struggling to make sure that he doesn't do that. Sometimes he falls back and he finds himself doing that. I'm using that just as an example. There's so many things that it could be related to. So at some point in time, or somebody is consuming alcohol before he comes to devotional stuff, or he's taking some forms of intoxicant. I know one devotee. I was shocked. Devotee was a senior person, and he has been in devotional service almost 10 years before even I joined the movement. And when I became the temple president, after several years of my being in devotional service, he was supposed to serve under me. And I was shocked to realize that this devotee, after that so many years, was still struggling with quitting taking alcohol. So such is the second stage of growth in the path of devotional practice. So you're struggling. Sometimes you maintain the principles, and sometimes you just fall back. This is called the stage of struggle and defeat. If the practitioner does not quit that time, it will come to the next stage, which is called the stage of struggle and success. Now, he finds himself falling back once in a week. I have a devotee reference like that also, who was one of serving under me, is late now. He said, I cannot follow this, your regulative principles, but I like your devotional service, I like your philosophy. So I said, don't worry, just chant Hare Krishna. He said, okay, I will chant only Hare Krishna, but I will not follow this, your regulative principles. And he was chanting truly. After some time, he said, no, Prabhu, you know what? I'm going to stop eating meat, fish, egg, and everything, but I will only be, no, he said, I will stop eating egg, but allow me to be eating only fish. I said, Prabhu, you can go ahead, but just keep chanting. And after some time, he came to me himself. He said, no, Prabhu, now I think I don't want to eat the fish again. I will no longer eat non-veg again. And he was doing that for a long time. And after some time, it comes to the stage which is the ultimate stage of success in devotional practice. It is called effortless success. This is the stage of our gurus, our spiritual master. When you get to that place, those things that are looking as though regulations, they become a norm for you. You don't see them as regulations, just like when a devotee has become stabilized in the process of service. The four regulative principles are no longer four regulative principles to him. They are regulative principles of freedom. So when you tell a non-devotee that we are following the four regulative principles of freedom, they tell you, how can this be freedom when you have to be restricted in doing this, restricted in doing that, restricted? So in that stage, he's seen this as restriction. So when you come to that stage of maturity in devotional service or nature, or the ray of nature, you become what? Effortless success. You see that you practicing that which was initially very difficult, because now you have knowledge, and that knowledge and austerity, as said by Krishna in one of the verses I quoted earlier, you develop some spiritual strength And when you develop that level of strength, those regulations no longer comes to you as a regulation. They become a normal norm of life for you. And when you come to that effortless success, what happens after that is what? You come to the stage we call the stage of rich taste. You start tasting the sweetness of devotion and service. You start tasting the sweetness of devotion and service. So our devotion as practice is determined by three things, as Srila Rupa Goswami said, which is very crucial. They are called the ingredient of success in devotional service. In the nectar of Srila Rupa Goswami has mentioned that determination, patience, tolerance, and patience, they help us to attain success in the path of devotional service. If we are determined, it helps us to climb the first ladder of helpless failure to the stage of struggle and failure. And when we continue in that stage with what is called patience or tolerance, what happens that we are trying, but we're not getting results, but we're continuing. Then we come to the stage of struggle and success. And from there on, because we are patient and we're tolerant, that stage will come where we get what is called effortless success, where success becomes a normal norm in our lives. I don't know whether that answers your question, Prabhu.
It's actually answered, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Purushottam Ayatra Prabhu. Salika Prabhu, when you were speaking, there is a question, or I would say a question, is like a comment in the chat room by His Grace Sriman Varahacharya. Because when Purushottama was asking his question, he also added fruits offered during fire sacrifice, that those also are not to be eaten. And I do not know if you, Salika Prabhu, did mention that. What I heard the speaker talk about is coconuts that are broken before the Rath Yatra procession. But when Purushottama Prabhu was asking the question, they also included fruits offered during sacrifice. So I do not know if that also is the case. And if it is, Srimad Prabhu is asking if there is any scriptural reference to such statement.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
That we not eat fruits offered during fire sacrifice.
Thank you very much for that. There is on that topic. That's why I said I'm not expert in that aspect, but I've heard from senior devotees, and I don't have that reference. They will say, I also asked the same question, and there was reference quoted. For that, I don't have that that's why I don't want to speculate on it. But there was a reference given, because when I heard that also, it was a shocking experience. And I asked the devotee that shared it, and he gave a reference, but I don't have that reference right here. I'm trying to, as I was answering the question, actually, I was checking my system to see if I could find that information, but I don't find it. But I will look out for it over time, and then I'll be able to reference it. But it is said that the coconut offered to Jagannath sacrifice are not to be eaten, because not meant for eating. So, but that reference, I'll try to get it and I will share it afterwards.
Okay, we have Shimala Prabhu sent up. Shimala Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
You may unmute, please, Andy.
Hare Krishna, Professor Mambo Besanti. God bless the Srila Prabhupada. God bless the Sri Guru and Guru. Yeah, so concerning Rath Yatra, that we know that offering is meant for the Buddhas, But during fire sacrifice, this is offering to Yagna Purusha, Lord Vishnu. And history of sacrifices are mentioned how the priest give sages give the fruit from the sacrifice to women looking for children. They eat the fruit and then they conceive. There are stories of sages after offering fruit in the sacrifice, they offer it to women asking or looking for children, and they conceive. And in the aspect of Tantra, when bodies are offered to fire, cremation, and I'm talking about Tantra, which Vaishnavas don't do. So people eat the remnants of that, those who practice that for certain powers. And in the same way, the coconut offered inside the fire, of course, consumed by the Yagya Purusha, but the remaining of it, if it's eaten, it's like you are also eating directly from the mouth of Yagya Purusha. It's also powerful. But most often it is left to be consumed there. But even if you eat that, even the banana, even if you eat the burnt one, very powerful. So if there's any reference to the contrary, I'm yet to be. I would like to see that. But this is I've seen in the Vedic practices many examples.
Yes, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Vara Prabhu. You are very you are one of our expert Purohit in this con. So I appreciate your contribution to this subject. The reality is this, that the subject about Yagya, subject matter that is, of course, our philosophy is that whatever is given as instructions or guidance on the part of our endeavor or practice of spirituality must be backed up by the scriptural reference. It's quite unfortunate I couldn't find that reference there, but somebody, the speaker who shared that gave a reference to that, and I think I took a note, but I can't really find it. But thank you very much for the explanation that you have given. So your explanation is actually elucidating, because for the coconut offered to the that it is meant to be left for the Buddhas, if I add it correctly. So it's meaning that you also agree with the fact that it's not supposed to be consumed by us. That's what you're saying. Am I getting that correctly?
Yes. For the Ratha Yatra, that is meant for Buddhas. It's not to be eaten.
Well, that is meant for Buddhas, yes. But for the offering, it is different. For Yagya, it's a different thing. Yeah, thank you very much. So that is, I think, that corresponds with what I've had before, that for Yagya, we should not consume it because it's meant for, not meant for us to consumption. But we didn't know, ignorance. We were acting in ignorance, and we were consuming then. But Krishna is so merciful. He still keeps us in his path because he knows our situation, and that is what he promised. He said he would destroy the ignorance that we have over time if we are consistent. So thank you for sharing that. For the other offerings, the speaker, I can't remember the speaker, I know he gave a scriptural references to all of this as when he shared that information. Fortunately, I don't have it now, but if I do get, I will share it. The coconut offering for Jagannath is clear, but the one for the fire sacrifice, that is why I didn't say that should not be consumed by, but maybe probably what he said is what you said, that it should be consumed for a particular kind of a purpose. But I know he gave a specific reference to how it should be consumed and all of that in that lecture, which he references some scriptures. But the point I'm trying to make in the lecture is that in the beginning of spiritual life, sometimes there are activities we engage in due to ignorance we don't know. But then it is not condemnable, because This is natural with the stage of beginning. But if we're consistent in the part of the bhakti or devotion or spiritual life, Krishna's promise is that he will clarify us. And there are many mistakes we've made, which we made in the beginning days, but we never make that mistake now because we're in knowledge. And that does not mean that we're perfect in knowledge, but then we keep on learning on a daily basis. Thank you very much for the contribution.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
The little thing I know, the little I know about this coconut thing we're discussing is, let me see if I can put it up here, because yes, it's here. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, text 13.
13 years. In the purport, right?
It says, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Yeah.
So here comes the difference between the smashed coconut for the Rath Yatra procession and then fruits offered when we have fire sacrifice. Because just like Srimad Prabhu was saying, the coconut we break, we smash on the floor during Rath Yatra. It's not actually offered. It is not offered to Lord Jagannath per se. It is said that is called Shubha Drishti, which is just a ritual. And I don't remember the name of this great devotee, but there was one great devotee, Lord Chaitanya specifically, told him, your service is to make sure, because this person was financially rich. So Lord Chaitanya told him that every year he should buy a very special rope made of silk, so that they will use that rope to pull Lord Jagannath. So the cart so the essence of that ritual is that the coconut is smashed to avoid any accident, like maybe the wheel of the cart coming off or the rope being used to pull the Lord breaking. Instead of the rope breaking, then the coconut should take charge of that. So that is why devotees do not eat, because it has not been offered. It is just a ritual. But in the case of the fruits, during fire sacrifice, those fruits are actually offered to Yagi.
Yeah, I remember
so there is a difference there.
Yeah, that's a difference. That's why I didn't say in my lecture.
No, you didn't say about
that we should not eat that. But I'm saying that how it should be used, we didn't know. But for us at the beginning, we just knew that everything we just consume. That's what we do.
Yeah, I think
I remember that speaker was saying that when he was giving that lecture, I can remember what he said was that he said, no, this is only natural for a child. When a child picks anything, he puts it in his mouth. That's the first thing he does. He said, so because it was a very tough class that day, I remember he used that example that the child, when he picks anything, naturally he takes it to his mouth.
Yeah, I think Srimad Prabhu said what he said just to help clarify what the questioner was saying.
Yeah, that's why we appreciate it.
You did not say those two things together, but when he was asking, he said the two things together, the breaking of or smashing the coconut and then offering of fruits during fire sacrifice, which are two different things, which that is not
exactly
what you said. But I think Purushottam Yatra Prabhu, if you're still here, I believe you are understanding that there is a difference between the smashing of the coconut and then the fruits of it.
Offering of fruits.
There is a big difference. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anyone?
Yeah.
To ask? Go ahead, Purushottam, if you have something to say.
Yeah. So, but according to the offering, the sacrifice offering, it means it is supposed to be given to a particular person, or that one it can be consumed. Everybody can consume it.
Well, if I heard what Srimad Prabhu was saying, right? Yes, because especially, when we chant mantras, we throw grains, and at the end of everything, we offer fruits into the fire, and the fire represents the mouth of Lord Vishnu. So it's just like a mother feeding a baby. So the Lord allows himself to be fed by the devotees in the form of throwing grains into the fire. And at the end of everything, we drop our fruits into the fire. And usually, devotees recite prayers onto the fruit before they drop the fruit into the fire. Whatever you're trying to ask the Lord to do for you, you recite onto the fruit and then you offer it into the fire. So based on what you requested or you prayed to the Lord for, then you may eat it. So because
Sure.
it becomes prashadam, and then what you have requested for possibly would get manifested, because that is what you have requested from the Lord.
Thank you.
Okay,
for
Prabhu. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you very much, Purushot, for bringing that up. It helps us to clarify. That's the beauty of Bhagavatam.
But Prabhuji, I have a question about knowledge. Which is,
Sir,
Hare Krishna.
I think the answer you gave to Purushottam Prabhu's question, I think it still needs some more clarification, because the fruit that we hold, to offer our prayers on, that one needs to be burnt completely. That's why we put it directly into the fire. So how are we going to consume something that we've already burnt?
Well, like Salika Prabhu was saying, I do not know much details about that, but what I learned from what Srimad Prabhu was explaining is that the fruit that is offered into the fire, that is prashadam, so it can be consumed. So banana, apple, they may be burned, and if someone wants to eat those, they may eat. There are other fruits that are used as decorations. Those I do not think are offered. They are just used as decorations on the arena, the fire sacrifice arena. But I don't know if what's the name? Srimad Prabhu is here and has something to say in that regard.
Yeah, okay. I think Prabhu can help with that. But the fact is that, okay, Prabhu, go ahead. You go ahead.
Hare Krishna, I'm driving, so please tolerate the noise. So the fruits that are used to decorate the iron are really offered. You cannot use them again for any other. You cannot offer it again. The fruit that are used in the iron become prasad because they've associated with the fire. Okay. Now the food, the bananas that we bring on and we put in the fire, it's true that they are meant to be burnt. Okay, they are meant to be burnt, and then usually they become charcoal. They are burnt to charcoal. But then even what is left of that, if somebody eats it, it's very powerful. Though usually people don't go for it because many people consider it as being burnt to charcoal. And when it is looking like charcoal, it does not appeal to anyone for eating. But there is actually some charcoal inside. Yeah, but generally people overlook it and they don't even they are not attracted to it, right? But that is not considered like uneatable. Even when it becomes clear charcoal, you can still eat it because it has charcoal inside, a lot of that. I hope that is clear. And the food that we use for decoration, they are not just decoration, they are offered. Immediately after, we give them to participants, and then sometimes we also send them to people, for blessings as well. So they are all considered offered. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shriman Bharatan. That was going to say to Pastor, because those ones that are there, they're not just decoration, they also they become prasadam because it's the remnant of what has been offered to the Yagya Purusha. Because, like you rightly explained before, thank you very much for the clarification.
Well, this is the beauty of SRIMAD Bhagavatam. SRIMAD Bhagavatam discusses, because until now, I always thought that the fruits that are used on the fire sacrificial arena there, those are not offered. But I'm learning today that they are offered. So that's beautiful. So can I go ahead and ask my question?
Well,
Okay, Aditya Prabhu. You're breaking
Your
up.
voice is breaking.
Somebody is calling.
Yeah. What I also know about you can hear. Can you hear me?
You may have to repeat whatever you were saying. We didn't hear. You were breaking up. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah.
I think it's more. It's
Can you hear me
moving,
now?
so it's still breaking up.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so maybe you can go ahead later when it's in a better issue.
Yeah. Well, Prabhuji, there are, you see, in English dictionary, very long words are very easily defined.
Yeah.
Very short words are very difficult to define and explain. So knowledge is common. Everybody uses it, but it's very difficult to really define knowledge. You were talking about knowledge and you quoted Bhagavad Gita verse that anything that has no relationship with Krishna is no knowledge. So people studying like mechanic, it has nothing directly to do with Krishna, with God. that cannot be considered knowledge. People studying law may not have direct relationship with Krishna. So I just wanted you to explain what is knowledge to earthly beings, those who do not serve God, those who do not worship God, because according to the dictionary, And actually from, I think, what is the name? Wikipedia. Wikipedia tries to explain what knowledge is about. And it says knowledge is an awareness of facts. Awareness of facts. So I do not know if anything other than Krishna is not a fact, and therefore knowledge about anything other than Krishna is not a fact. If you may try to help us, like those of us who are not worshippers of God, what is knowledge to us? Or we have no knowledge at all.
Thank you so much, Terry, for that beautiful question. Like I said, I gave an example when I was speaking about knowledge using water. Water by nature is very pure, transparent. But most often times, knowledge is, water is reflected by the chemicals or the components that is added with water and described as those. And I gave an example of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is simply water, but because some chemicals is being applied to this, it's called Coke. It is called beer. It is called many other things. So knowledge in its true essence, water in its true essence is pure, transparent. It is completely pure by itself. And that same water, when it is added to something, it is still water, but it is called something differently. In the same way, Krishna is the truth. There is nothing outside of me. Krishna himself says, there is no truth superior to me. There is nothing. When we talk about truth or talk about knowledge, it's Krishna. There's nothing about anything outside of him is illusion. But when that thing or that truth, when something else is added to it, although it is called something else, but in reality, when you go to the definition of it, and you use a very nice example, a mechanic. What does a mechanic do? Of course, there are different levels of mechanics. Auto mechanic, those who repair the aeroplane, those who they are called mechanics in different categories of mechanics. But mechanics of some aspect of some energies of Krishna. But they do not realize that they are actually studying some aspect of Krishna. So that knowledge is separated from Krishna, and that is why it is called illusion, Maya. But there is nothing in existence that is not Krishna. Absolutely, when you look at everything critically, when it's scientifically, and when I say scientifically, I'm talking of spiritually scientific. When you go to the etymology, when you go to the origin of everything, what you find is Krishna, nothing else. And that is why Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarva pravatate iti matyo bhajanti mam buddha samavita. Both animate and inanimate, everything that is within is all coming from me. It's Krishna. There is nothing that exists outside of Krishna. But when those things are separated from Krishna in its absoluteness, then they become illusion. So when somebody says, I'm a lawyer, and that law does not align with Manu Samhita, which is given by the Manu, coming from Ishwaku, coming from Krishna, then it is not law. It is just some gymnastics. So although he is saying that I'm studying law, but that is not law. He's just studying some, it's just a speculative. But law in its essence means that which is given by God. So whatever discipline, medicine, whether it is anything, just name anything at all. The moment it is separated from Krishna, it becomes illusion. It's not truth. And that is why Srila Prabhupada said in one of his lectures, he said, management. Generally, we say management is material, right? But he said even management, which is material, when it is applied in Krishna consciousness, it's become transcendental. So anything at all, they become illusion when they are separated from Krishna, because nothing exists outside of Krishna. And that's why, that is the definition of knowledge in this context, because Krishna is talking. It is based on the text we're saying. Krishna himself is the one that says this. He says that he said he gave the knowledge, and he said that knowledge is transcendental glories of himself. And then when we studied Bhagavad Gita from chapter 7 going to chapter 10, Krishna kept on describing, I'm this of this, I'm that of this, of that of that. He kept on explaining. He went ahead and said, that ability in man is me. So whatever it is that man can manipulatively exhibit is still Krishna. But when he is not connecting it to Krishna, then it becomes illusion. So the knowledge of mechanics of any form, doctor of any kind, medicine of any nature, when it is connected to Krishna, then it becomes absolute. But when it is separated from Krishna, it becomes illusion. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, as you were speaking, I was trying to think a little deeply into my own question. And as you were answering, I was getting this understanding that, like you were saying, water is transparent, is tasteless, is colorless. But we use the same water, and then we have something like Sprite, or we have something like soup, whatever. It began with water, but now it has changed. So water in its pure form is water. Once it's diluted with something else, even though it's liquid, but we do not call it water. So knowledge, true knowledge, is knowing about God. If it's not about God, it's still knowledge, but it's not true knowledge. That's what I'm getting, which is so crazy. It's like sometimes people say, like when you void, like when you pass urine, some people will say your urine should be like water, but that is not urine. Urine should have a color. You know, urine should look a little yellowish, like amber, like at the traffic yellow light, something like that. If it is without that color, then there is a problem. If it's like tea, it's a problem. If it's like
whatever colors it carries.
If it is like water, there is a problem. So even though you are voiding, which we know is urine, but chemically speaking, if we test it, we will see that it's not pure urine.
It's not pure.
Yeah.
Something is been added.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Anyone else?
As we're explaining, I was just reflecting. Just a minute. So as you explained, I was just reflecting. We say Maha water. We say Maha water. It is water, but we say, why do we say Maha water? Because it has been transformed.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada give that example to explain Mahaprashadam. Yeah. It's interesting. Thank you. Yeah, Mother.
Travina David, please, you'll be unmute. Travina Devi, are you still there, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Yes, we can.
Hi, though. I just wanted to say thank you for again, also enlightening us with knowledge of Shastra and the potency of this process. When you referenced water, I have recently come across, Krishna is the taste of water. And as you referenced, it is pure. And I just a few years ago ran across some information regarding water in which a scientific test was done that was brilliant. And the purity of water is such that whatever is spoken near it, whatever energy is transmuted by thought, word, or energy, that water absorbs it and gives and reflects back anything that is given. So in this one experiment, oh my gosh, so many things. A picture was put near some water, and then the water was frozen, and then the frozen water crystals reflected an image of the picture. I'm going to send it to Sahadev. I know what I'm saying. It's amazing. So it just shows the purity of Shastra. I have some reflections and experiences in my life that I've heard in Shastra that I experienced directly. So this is pure knowledge, and it is wonderfully created and it's free for the taking. And for anyone who has an interest in going deeper and knowledge of the self, by whatever name one calls, it's such a benefit. But SALIKA. So he'll send it to you. Or if I can find you, I'll send it to you also, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Mother.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare
Krishna.
so much.
Thank you very much. So, Sadi Prabhu, you are indebted to us.
No. You are the wonderful revered speaker. And thank you for sharing what you just shared with Ramina Devi, because it's so true. We all drink water every day. I mean, we cannot live without water.
Exactly.
It is said that water and earth meet at, it's kind of scientific. It has a triple conjunction that earth and water meets. Therefore, water has three different properties. It could be liquid, it could be gaseous, and it could be solid at the same time. But it's still the same water. And whatever we give to the water, we get it back. So whatever energy we infuse into water, we get it back. And I know a little bit about this science of healing with water, where you put water into a container and put it under the sun for the sun's rays to enter into it, and the water will absorb the energy of the sun. And you can use it for many purposes. So water has lots of amazing uses. Well, Salika Prabhu, you are speaking, so we'll end here.
Yeah, it's okay. That's the beauty.
Thank you.
It's interesting that it is interesting that when we go back to the creation, Krishna, first thing is water, and every other thing is coming from there.
Oh.
And you said something very beautiful, that whatever you give into water, it gives it back to you. And that's why Prabhupada is very powerful. Prabhupada always say that when we carefully meditate on anything, if we're intelligent, you will find Krishna there. As if, whether it's anything, a thoughtful man, whatever he sees, he can see Krishna if he's actually a thoughtful person. And that's why the Mahatmas are glorified, because the Mahatmas, they can see absolutely, and that is the highest level of spiritual attainment. And when you come to that place, you will see nothing else but Krishna in anything and everything. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I think we may bring this to a close. It's been almost 2 hours. Devotees, we can thank you enough for your love and time and wisdom shared with us all. And Salika Prabhu, we can't thank you enough for such powerful Krishna Katha delivery you shared with us today. And personally, I would like to also use this opportunity to say big thank you to our wonderful big brother, His Grace Gaul Prabhu. Prabhuji has been so consistent to this SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM Katha, and it's very inspiring. And he has also volunteered to help with fraying some of the costs involved in hosting this program. So we thank you and we appreciate you so much. We appreciate the financial help, but even higher than that, it's your love and your association with us all. We appreciate it a lot. Devotees, with that, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Salika Prabhu, for speaking such wonderful to all of us today. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yes, I have a little problem. I don't know if you can solve it for me. Yeah, just a little light in the middle of the trailer. On the track chassis? Yeah. Okay, on the track chassis.